LG isn't a company that's gotten, or frankly earned, much attention this year. The attention it has gotten, aside from the less than positive buzz surrounding the LG Optimus View, has been entirely focused on its flagship smartphone offering, the Optimus G. Kind of like this one, right here. I'm Michael Fisher, this is Pocketnow, and this is our full review of the LG Optimus G for AT&T. Let's get to it. Right out the gate, let's note a couple variations between this unit and the global version of the Optimus G. Aside from the usual radio changes to accommodate AT&T's American GSM, HSPA, and LTE bands, there's been a significant reduction in the camera's resolution, from 13 megapixels in the global and Sprint versions to 8 megapixels on our AT&T unit here. More on that later. There's also the usual carrier-level customization to the software and the AT&T branding on the back, which is, stay with me here, the most beautiful carrier branding I have ever seen. I know that sounds a little like saying the most beautiful dead rodent stuck to my new car's bumper I've ever seen, but it's true. It's not silk-screened or painted on, but rather an embossed metal logo, and it exists entirely beneath the Gorilla Glass 2 backplate. The lens for that 8-megapixel camera and its LED flash also reside beneath the back panel up here in the corner, and the counterpoint is the speaker down here on the lower right, which, by the way, puts out sound that is wimpy, wimpy, wimpy. Of course, you can't expect much from any speakerphone shoehorned into an 8.45mm device, which we can see on the side here. Volume keys are here on the left, as well as the tray for the microSD and SIM card slots. The power standby is in the thumb position on the right if you're right-handed, and there's a bonus. There's an LED notification light ringing the button, and it illuminates on alerts. It only lights up for a little while, it only lights up red, and you can't see it from all angles, so it's not perfect, but all the same, we're very glad it's here. Up top and at the bottom, the side construction changes from glossy pewter finish to stippled plastic end caps, furnished with all the usual accoutrements, headphone jack, microphones, and down here some screws that don't hurt the look at all. Finally, up front here, this display is a 4.7-inch 768 by 1280 True HD IPS Plus display with a pixel density of 320 ppi. It uses LG's new zero-gap touch technology, which, in the words of LG, has its sensor film printed directly on the cover glass. Beneath that display are 3 capacitive keys, in this instance home, back, and menu, arranged in the inverse of Samsung's latest favored implementation. Underneath all that is quite a significant power plant. The LG Optimus G features the Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Pro, which offers quad-core processing power in addition to LTE compatibility, a first for AT&T. That's running at 1.5 GHz and backed up by 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of storage, expandable to an additional 64 gigs of storage via microSD. That's all powered by an embedded 2100 mAh battery. Before we move into software, though, we need to talk about how this device feels in the hand. In short, like an expensive piece of jewelry. Now, the Optimus G isn't the first phone to be made from all glass, and it's certainly not the first one to have this kind of handling challenge. It's just something to be aware of. And if you value aesthetics, the trade-off is well worth it. LG is recalling its roots in beautiful hardware design with this smartphone. It's a little wide for my taste, but its 145 grams feel incredible, absolutely premium in the hand. Of course, it's a fingerprint magnet, but that's an alright sacrifice to make when your phone feels like a finely crafted Swiss watch or something. Seriously, it feels like a luxury item. It definitely surpassed my expectations. That's all well and good, but what about the softer side of the equation? Of course, I'm talking about the software load that LG is bringing to the Optimus G. What are we looking at here? Like many manufacturers, LG hasn't had the best record when it comes to updating its smartphone OS, so users will want to be sure they're happy with what LG is shipping out of the box. Specifically, that is Android 4.0.4 with the LG UI, or if you prefer the Optimus UI, running on top. Now, this isn't one of the more subtle Android skins on the market. We're talking something much more in line with what Samsung offers, a complete reskinning and rethinking of Android. It takes a lot of cues from Samsung's Nature UX offering, actually, with the out-of-the-box settings giving you a lock screen with ripple effects and floating leaves on water and drippy water sounds that sound like they've been ripped right from a Galaxy S3. Our favorite mode here, Dewdrop, expands a bubble across the lock screen when swiped, exposing more and more of the underlying home screen until the phone just unlocks. Once you get into the UI itself, the visual enhancements just keep on coming. There are 7 different home screen animations to choose from when swiping between panes, and the software supports landscape home screen right out of the box. It's not all cosmetic enhancements. LG has built some enhanced functionality here too, like the shortcut toggles in the notification drawer. Some of it is lifted straight from Samsung, like the Wise Screen Smart Stay analog. The picture-in-picture video player was pioneered by Samsung's Galaxy S3, but here LG uses a different implementation. Now, whether it's better or worse than confining the video to a floating window is up to you. But LG's version has a critical distinction. It works with YouTube. That's a win in anybody's book. Overall, the software that LG is shipping with the Optimus G does almost as much as the hardware to surprise us, in a good way. It's stable, it's fast, and it's useful. And that's a triumvirate that's surprisingly difficult to achieve. So, now that we know what the Optimus G is bringing to the table, let's see how all those specs perform on the test bench and out in the fresh air. From a fluidity and responsiveness standpoint, the Optimus G is a speed demon. The UI almost never bogs down or trips, and most of the time, it's hard to believe this thing isn't running Jelly Bean with its Project Butter enhancements. Even after a solid day of use with a lot of apps running, that fluidity remains intact. In a word, it's awesome. That speed translates to the network connection as well. We tested the Optimus G on AT&T's LTE network here in Boston, and data speeds were consistently excellent, averaging between 15 and 20 megabits per second down, and about half that speed up, though as you can see, it peaks in off-peak hours. Thankfully, that 2100 mAh battery inside handles the load with aplomb. Even with moderate to heavy use, the device usually lasted me the whole day, with more than 20% to spare. The 8-megapixel camera does well, especially considering its downgrade from the 13-megapixel version on the Sprint version and the global version. There's still some noise in darker shots, but HDR mode is there to compensate for that. My favorite mode is the moment before capture mode, which starts shooting several seconds before you hit the shutter button, allowing you to capture moments that you might have missed otherwise, and that's called time catch shot. Finally, from an audio perspective, voice calls still being in fashion on these devices we call smartphones, the Optimus G shoots par. Voice calls sound fine from both ends, and cellular reception keeps up with what we've come to expect from modern communication devices. The speakerphone is definitely on the weak side, though, delivering audio that's tinnier and quieter than we've come to expect. And whatever you do, don't leave the phone on its back if you've set an alarm or you're expecting a call. The speaker's so muffled in this position that you'll never hear it ring. To be frank, we weren't expecting to like the LG Optimus G as much as we do. Sure, it's packing an impressive first in its LTE meets quad-core powerhouse, but LG has been a company all about doing something first for a while. That's nothing new. Thing is, usually they haven't been doing first too well. We're happy to see that the Optimus G doesn't fall into that rut. It's a well-made, spec-packed, feature-heavy smartphone that looks beautiful, feels great in the hand, and puts its firsts to good use. It feels a little on the fragile side, and its mediocre audio performance leaves something to be desired, but we'd be proud to carry one, and we give it an 8 out of 10. Folks, that's going to do it for our full video review of the LG Optimus G for AT&T. If you want to read our full text review, please do so. Visit us at Pocketnow.com. That's also where you should leave a comment if you want it responded to. We don't always get to all of them, but we get to a lot more of them at Pocketnow.com than we do here on YouTube. However, please do throw us a thumbs up here on YouTube if you liked what you saw. Follow us on Twitter. The official account is PocketNowTweets. My account is Captain2Phones if you want to stay apprised of the latest stories from Pocketnow. And thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. I am at Captain2Phones. That's Captain, the number 2, Phones. And make sure and follow Scarlett Johansson.